What's going on, my friends? Welcome to Gamers with Games. So today I want to talk about video games, but I want to talk about video games in relation to the nunchucks. Something I'm actually kind of passionate about, something I actually do on a daily basis. I love practicing with my nunchucks. It's a little cool form of exercise that not only makes me feel a little bit like a badass, but it's something good to get my body working around and actually moving around and feeling a little bit more healthier overall. But the reason why I want to talk about nunchucks and stuff, I want to talk about the actual use of nunchucks for characters or just their interpretation in video games and such. I think it's a cool topic, especially if you're a martial arts enthusiast, if you play a lot of fighting games, or even if you're just like a Bruce Lee fan and such. This is a cool discussion that you guys should have. So, in various different video games, nunchaku have always been kind of interpreted just as like, you know, one of those weapons that's like really badass, that's used by a master of martial arts and such, and it's pretty awesome. You find this in a lot of games like Soul Calibur, which is one of them. You find it also in Devil May Cry. If you guys have ever played Devil May Cry 3, Dante actually uses like a pair of nunchucks, which is, instead of just having two, it has these 3 or 4 type of like actual prongs on it, or it actually look like parts of the nunchuck on it. That is from, I believe it's from the Ice Cerberus or Ice Dog that's in there, and he does a whole bunch of cool badass little things. Now, also at the same time, you find it also in recent games. I know the Mortal Kombat series has actually had Liu Kang actually use the nunchucks as part of his fighting style and stuff. He's a big nod to Bruce Lee, as like a lot of other different interpretations are of the nunchucks in various video games. But with him, it's a little bit much more so because, again, he does the different types of cries like "Wah!" and stuff like that, and the way he uses them is very, very similar to Bruce Lee. It's a very cool thing, but one of the things I always thought that was very interesting about the nunchucks in video games is that a lot of different interpretations of the nunchucks aren't necessarily super realistic. You know, various different characters, because of the fantastical nature of them and because they're so kind of disconnected from reality and they're all so kind of like fixated in fantasy and such, that someone who uses the nunchucks is doing all these like crazy flips, doing all like these little different spins and stuff with the nunchucks, like spinning around their head, you know, all over the place, which in kind of like reality terms or just most basic terms isn't necessarily, you know, the most realistic or the most practical use of the nunchucks. And granted, there's a large ass truck outside. It's about to be really loud, so I have to apologize about that. But I digress. The nunchucks, okay, in video games have always been used as a very fantastical weapon that like really shows the kind of like master nature of someone in the martial arts. Gung Fu, JKD, you know, Wing Chun, any sort of like martial art that's out there, they use the nunchucks and it's like their kind of like interpretation of like being a really powerful person, powerful individual using the actual, what is it, Kung Fu or nunchucks. But I would love to actually see a more like realistic approach of using the nunchucks in video games. I would love to see like a kind of like an approach very similar to that of Virtua Fighter, with its approach to using real life martial arts actual what is it, styles and kind of like, you know, disciplines and such. You know, again, just using realistic weapons like that. Here's an actual good one. If you guys have ever played the actual game, that it was a really crappy game back in the day, but Deadliest Warrior, I believe it was called, where they would put different types of warriors and like fighters from different eras of what is it, American history or world history against each other, and they would use their various fighting styles. Some of them would use halberds, some of them would use scimitars and stuff, but it took a very grounded in reality type of approach to see how these warriors would actually stack up against each other. I would love to see something like that with a martial arts game that uses stuff like the nunchucks, to like uses the actual pole, the actual, what is it, I believe it was called like the triple nunchucks, which is what you see in a lot of Shaolin films, where they use like nunchucks that have like 3 or 4 different types of sticks rather than just the traditional 2. I would love to see something like that done and actually kind of like give that type of interpretation and kind of, you know, change up the way that people think about the nunchucks. You see this also on YouTube. A lot of people do a lot of different nunchuck videos where they're actually spinning. There's this one of this really hot girl that's in a bikini and stuff. It's got like hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of views. I think it might have hit a million views. I could be wrong. Where she's in this bikini and high heels, she's twirling all the nunchucks and stuff. Looks crazy and stuff like that. But when you really think about it, and you're doing all this fancy stuff, if you take that much more Bruce Lee-esque type of approach and type of mentality and philosophical breakdown of it, spinning these nunchucks like that, would that actually be an, oh my god, that's so loud. I'm feeling going over there and nunchucking the actual driver of that actual truck, just like, you know, all that stuff. But I digress, so I apologize. You know, I would love to, you know, it's kind of impractical to be doing like all these spins and stuff, rolling around your hand and stuff, rather than just actually hitting somebody in the face with the actual nunchucks and stuff like that. You know, when you're actually in a fight and stuff, at least from my understanding, if you watch a lot of self-defense videos and stuff, you want to be able to hit somebody with the most basic and simple of attacks and stuff. Again, Bruce Lee in his actual JKD philosophy and his actual breakdown of like what the art of fighting really is, it's simplicity. If you're in a fight and you're gonna be like, you know, rolling around your nunchucks and stuff like that, your opponent's gonna look at you like, what the fuck are you doing, son? Boom! Right in his face. You don't get a lot of that in video games and such, and I would love to see that actual taken, that actual approach, and actual kind of like creative endeavor done in any sort of video game down the line. I don't know what series it may be. It could be anything from like a fighting game, like a Street Fighter, a Tekken, Mortal Kombat or so, or maybe even an adventure game, kind of like Jade Empire. Jade Empire did a little bit of this, but again, it was a little bit more still put into like a whole fantasy realm, where you're doing all these crazy kung fu maneuvers and such, which worked for it, by the way. It was a pretty awesome game. You should play it. But it wasn't so much grounded in reality. So I don't know, that's just my opinion, guys. You know, being a fan of the nunchucks, someone that actually practices with nunchucks every single day, it's just like a couple different thoughts in my head that I wanted to present to you guys. But I'm curious about what all of you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think about nunchaku, Surgi-Quan, the actual use of them, the actual interpretation of them in video games and in like movie media. If you're a big fan of martial arts movies, you should know what I'm talking about. If you're a fan of Shaw Brothers movies, Bruce Lee, Donnie Yen, Jet Li, you know, what is it, Sammo Hung, any of these types of stuff, guys, put it in the comment section below and get a good discussion going. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. Also, besides a comment, don't forget to subscribe to the Gamers with Gains channel if you guys are kind of into kind of, you know, video game related vlogs, any sort of types of like health and motivation types of vlogs related to video games and gamers out there. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch because I'm playing games almost every single evening, playing a variety of different games. I've been doing a lot of Smash Brothers, going to be checking out probably some more Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Critical Mode at some point, and I'm curious about to see what you guys want me to actually play on stream. So spread the word about the channel, about the Twitch channel as well, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. My actual link to my Twitter is on the actual description box below. Hit me with a follow, send me actual questions or comments about the channel or any sort of things you guys want me to discuss on these vlogs. So I will talk to all of you guys again real soon. Keep nunchucking people in the face stuff and enjoy your video games. Peace out. Stay epic, everybody.